I had always thought high school was just about grades and awkward cafeteria moments, but I learned the hard way that it's also a battlefield of whispers and hidden agendas. It started with small things. A few classmates giving me odd looks in the hallway, chuckling behind their hands. At first, I brushed it off, telling myself I was overthinking it. But the feeling didn't go away, and neither did the rumors that slowly began to reach me through social media, texts from friends, and subtle comments in class. Melissa, one of the most popular girls in our grade, had always seemed friendly enough, always waving at me or smiling when we crossed paths. I never suspected her of being the type to spread nasty rumors. Then there was Arya, quieter, more reserved, someone I occasionally worked with in group projects. I liked her, thought she was nice, but lately even she started acting differently around me. I didn't know who to trust, and that uncertainty was eating me alive. The first real sign that something was wrong came during lunch. I was sitting with a few classmates I considered friends, eating my sandwich quietly when I heard someone whisper my name, followed by a burst of laughter. I looked up and saw Melissa leaning against the table, grinning, whispering something to Arya. My stomach dropped. I tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. The whispers kept spreading, reaching more ears every day. By the end of the week, I started noticing notes left in my locker, anonymous messages on social media, and snippets of conversations meant to be overheard. They all painted me in a way that wasn't true, making me look manipulative, rude, and even mean-spirited. I felt cornered, trapped in a web I didn't understand. Who was behind it? Why me? I knew I had to find out before it got worse. That night, I stayed up scrolling through social media, piecing together comments, messages, and subtle hints from classmates. The pattern became clear, and it led me to a shocking realization: Melissa's name appeared more often than anyone else's. Not only that, the messages she liked or commented on seemed carefully calculated, designed to make me look bad without being obvious. My heart sank. I had to confront this, but I also knew I needed proof. Otherwise, I'd be accused of making things up. The next morning, I started paying closer attention in class. I noticed the way Melissa positioned herself in the room, who she whispered to, who she nudged when a joke came up. It was meticulous, almost strategic. And then I noticed Arya. She seemed uncomfortable, almost guilty, like she knew something but was trying not to admit it. That tiny flicker of guilt in her eyes told me she might be involved, or at least aware of what was happening. By the end of that day, I had a plan. I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I decided to test Melissa, to see if she would slip, to see if she would show me who she really was. I needed a trap, a situation where her lies would be exposed without question. But setting it up would be tricky. One wrong move, and it could backfire spectacularly, making me the target even more. The thought made my stomach twist, but I couldn't let fear win. I started by planting subtle misinformation, small hints about things that weren't true, and waited to see if they would show up in rumors the next day. It was like a game of chess, each move calculated, each reaction observed. By the time I left school that day, my head was spinning with possibilities. Melissa had no idea I was onto her yet, and Arya, well, she was still a wild card. The game had begun, and I had no idea how dangerous it could get. The next morning felt heavier than usual. Every glance, every whisper, every laugh seemed loaded with hidden meaning. I walked into class with a careful calm, pretending nothing was wrong, even though my mind raced with strategies. My first test was observing how Melissa reacted to the misinformation I had planted. I had casually mentioned to another friend that I had been invited to a small, exclusive art workshop after school, a lie, but believable. If Melissa repeated it or twisted it, I'd know for sure she was feeding the rumors. Within the first hour, I noticed her leaning over to Arya, speaking in that same low, conspiratorial tone. Arya glanced around nervously, not making eye contact with me. My pulse quickened. They were definitely talking about me. I strained to catch snippets. Did you hear about Emily? Apparently she thinks she's so special. I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to. The rest was muffled, but it confirmed my suspicion. Melissa was the source, and Arya was complicit, whether willingly or not. I spent the day carefully logging every interaction, every laugh, every pointed glance. I was building a timeline, a pattern. At lunch, I sat a little closer to the group, pretending to scroll through my phone, but really listening. Melissa leaned toward Arya again, smirking when she said something. Arya's response was hesitant, almost apologetic. That little crack told me she didn't fully agree with Melissa's tactics, but fear or social pressure kept her in line. After school, I decided to escalate my plan. I needed hard evidence, something undeniable. I asked a friend I trusted, someone who was usually out of Melissa's orbit, to record a casual conversation with her about the art workshop rumor. My heart thumped as I handed the phone over discreetly. If Melissa admitted anything, even indirectly, I would finally have proof. But the risk of being discovered was high. One suspicious glance from her, and everything could collapse. The next day, the recording came back. My hands shook as I listened. Melissa didn't just confirm the rumor, she exaggerated it, adding details I hadn't mentioned, twisting the story to make me look arrogant and self-important. My stomach sank, but at the same time, I felt a surge of vindication. I had the proof I needed. I could finally confront her, but I knew doing it publicly would be explosive. I had to be strategic, catch her in a trap she couldn't escape. Then came the twist I didn't expect. Arya approached me after class, her voice low and urgent. "Emily, I think you should see something before you confront Melissa. It's complicated." My curiosity and anxiety spiked. She led me to a quiet corner of the school library and pulled out her phone. On it was a series of messages between Melissa and another student, someone I barely knew. They were planning to escalate the rumors further, targeting teachers and spreading lies that could affect my grades. I froze. This wasn't just high school drama anymore, it was serious, calculated. Melissa wasn't just gossiping, she was orchestrating a campaign to ruin my reputation. And Arya, she had saved these messages for me, but I didn't know why. Was she turning against Melissa, or was this another trap? My head spun with questions. I had to act fast, but I couldn't make a single mistake. That night, I stayed up analyzing everything I had collected, whispers, social media posts, the recording, the messages. I realized I had two choices: confront Melissa directly, risking a public scene, or gather more evidence and expose her in a way that left no room for denials. The second option was safer, more satisfying. But it required patience, and patience was hard when the betrayal cut so deep. By the next morning, I had a plan. I would use Melissa's own tactics against her, but carefully. I would leak a controlled rumor to the right people, watch her reactions, and use Arya as my silent ally. The stakes were higher than ever, and one misstep could backfire completely. But I was ready. Melissa had underestimated me, and now it was my turn to play the game she started. The next day felt like walking a tightrope. Every step, every word had to be measured. I had decided to implement my plan slowly, testing Melissa while keeping my own tracks hidden. I started small, casually dropping hints to certain classmates about a big surprise I supposedly had in the works for an upcoming school event. Nothing real, just enough to make Melissa think she could twist it into another rumor. By mid-morning, I noticed her scanning the hallway, eyes sharp, trying to catch my words. She whispered to Arya again, and this time Arya's face betrayed hesitation, almost guilt. That gave me hope. Maybe she wasn't completely loyal to Melissa. Maybe, if I handled this right, I could turn her into an ally. During lunch, I approached Arya quietly, slipping a note into her hand. It was simple, I know. We can fix this. Meet me after school in the library. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought she might refuse. But instead, she nodded, and that tiny gesture felt like a lifeline. I realized I wasn't completely alone. After school, I met Arya in the library. She looked nervous, glancing around as if expecting Melissa to appear at any moment. Emily. I didn't want to be involved, but she's obsessed, Arya admitted, voice trembling. I tried to stop her before, but she's manipulative. She threatens people who go against her. I listened carefully, letting her speak, and then shared everything I had, the recording, the messages, the rumors she'd spread. Arya's expression shifted from fear to determination. We need to be smart, I said. We can't just confront her outright. She'll deny everything, twist it, make it seem like I'm the liar. Arya nodded. I can help. I've seen the group chats, the posts, she can't hide it all. But we need proof everyone will see, something undeniable. Together, we devised a plan. Gather the evidence, present it to a teacher and the student council, and let Melissa's own lies trap her. Over the next 2 days, we worked in secret, collecting screenshots, recording whispered conversations, and mapping out who she had told what. Melissa seemed oblivious, confident in her control, but we were preparing the perfect reveal. My anxiety was constant, but so was a thrill I hadn't expected, the feeling of finally taking control. Then came the moment I hadn't anticipated. Melissa confronted me in the hallway, smiling sweetly but with a dangerous edge. Emily, everyone's talking about you. I hope you're ready for all the attention, she said, voice dripping with mockery. My stomach tightened, but I forced a calm smile. Funny, I heard you've been busy talking too, I replied, my tone casual but firm. Her eyes narrowed, and for a split second, I saw the flicker of fear I had been waiting for. That evening, Arya and I finalized our strategy. We would expose Melissa during the next school assembly, but we had to time it perfectly. Too early, and she could deflect. Too late, and she might escalate her lies further. We mapped every step, every possible outcome. The tension was unbearable, but the stakes demanded it. I felt like a character in a thriller, every detail critical. Finally, the day came. Assembly was crowded, the air thick with anticipation I didn't think anyone else could feel. I kept my calm, Arya by my side, ready. We were about to pull off something that would either ruin us or finally reveal the truth. Melissa, confident and smug, had no idea the storm that was about to hit. The assembly started like any other, students filing into the auditorium, teachers taking their seats, and Melissa, as expected, walking in with her usual air of superiority. She scanned the room, eyes briefly landing on me, then flicking away with that smug little smile, as if she already knew she had one. I clenched my fists under my lap, forcing myself to breathe slowly. Patience was key. When the principal called for announcements, I felt my stomach twist. I waited, pretending to scroll through my phone while Arya discreetly slipped me a small folder containing the final pieces of evidence, screenshots of social media posts, snippets of messages between Melissa and her friends, and a recording where Melissa admitted to spreading the rumors. My heart pounded so hard I was sure someone could hear it. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. I stood, walking to the stage with Arya just behind me, and the murmurs began immediately. Heads turned, whispers spread, and Melissa's expression changed from smug confidence to confusion. I didn't speak immediately. Instead, I opened the folder and held it up for everyone to see, then looked directly at Melissa. These are the messages, posts, and recordings proving the rumors you've been spreading about me, I said clearly. Everything you've done to make me look bad is documented. For a moment, there was silence. Then a ripple of shock spread through the audience. Students who had laughed at the rumors now stared at Melissa, unable to ignore the proof. Some even gasped audibly. Melissa's lips pressed into a thin line, and I saw her hands tremble. Arya, standing quietly behind me, gave a small nod, her eyes saying what words couldn't, we did it. Melissa opened her mouth, probably to deny or twist the situation, but the principal stepped forward, taking the folder from my hands. After reviewing the evidence quickly, he spoke, voice steady but firm, this is serious. Spreading false rumors that affect students' reputations will not be tolerated. I will be speaking with Melissa and her parents immediately. Melissa's face turned pale, and the room seemed to hold its breath. But the twist I hadn't expected came next. A few students, emboldened by the exposure, began sharing their own experiences of Melissa's manipulations, showing that the rumors about me weren't isolated incidents. What started as an attempt to ruin one person's reputation had been part of a pattern. Melissa tried to respond, tried to deny it, but the avalanche of proof was unstoppable. She had built a house of cards, and we had knocked the bottom card out. By the end of the assembly, Melissa was escorted to the principal's office, her usual confidence gone, replaced by fear and anger. Students whispered among themselves, some shaking their heads, others glancing at me with a newfound respect. Arya and I walked back to our seats quietly, hearts still racing, but a sense of relief washing over us. We had turned the tables. Even after the public exposure, there were complications. Some of Melissa's friends tried to defend her, claiming I was exaggerating. But with Arya's help, we had documented everything in a way that was undeniable. The next few days were tense, but slowly, the truth settled in. People stopped whispering about me, and the rumors vanished as quickly as they had appeared. Melissa, on the other hand, faced consequences that I had anticipated, and the power she had wielded so carelessly crumbled. That experience left me changed. I realized how much damage lies in manipulation could do, but also how much courage, patience, and careful planning could turn the tide. I didn't just survive the rumors, I uncovered the truth and reclaimed my voice. Arya and I became closer after that, bonded by the secret mission we had pulled off together. And Melissa, well, she learned the hard way that actions have consequences, and that the truth, no matter how delayed, always finds a way out. The days after the assembly were surreal. People looked at me differently now, some with curiosity, some with admiration, others with the cautious distance that comes after watching someone rise above chaos. Melissa's absence in class was noticeable. She had been suspended for a week while the administration reviewed the full extent of her behavior. Some whispered about what had happened, but the rumors about me had completely vanished. The atmosphere felt lighter, almost unreal. Arya and I stuck close during that time, quietly celebrating our small victory. She admitted later that she had been terrified of Melissa's wrath, but seeing the evidence laid bare gave her courage too. We spent hours discussing how deceptive high school dynamics could be and how important it was to stand up for oneself. It felt like a private victory that no one else could fully understand. Our bond, forged in secrecy and strategy, had turned into genuine friendship. Then came the twist I hadn't anticipated. Melissa returned to school a few days later, but she wasn't the same girl. Gone was the confident, smug demeanor, replaced by someone quieter, more cautious. She avoided eye contact, and her usual group of friends kept their distance. I realized that while justice had been served publicly, the emotional impact lingered. She had been stripped of her social power in a way that no punishment alone could achieve. And yet, watching her navigate the aftermath, I felt a strange mix of relief and pity. One afternoon, Melissa approached me in the hallway, her voice low, almost hesitant. "Emily. I know I messed up. I'm sorry," she said. I studied her carefully. The apology felt sincere, tinged with fear and shame, but also an attempt to reclaim some dignity. I nodded, not offering friendship, but acknowledging her words. Forgiveness wasn't immediate, but it didn't have to be. Sometimes, the best power was simply moving forward, unaffected by past chaos. Life gradually returned to a new normal. People stopped whispering, classes resumed without tension, and I even found myself enjoying school in a way I hadn't for months. The experience had taught me lessons about trust, vigilance, and the importance of allies. I had learned that not everyone who seems kind is, and that sometimes those who appear quiet or timid can become your strongest supporters. Arya remained a loyal friend, and together we navigated the rest of the school year with a sense of cautious confidence. But the final twist came unexpectedly. A few weeks later, I discovered an anonymous note slipped into my locker. It read, "You think this is over? Be careful who you trust. People always watch." My heart skipped a beat. Was it another attempt at a rumor, someone trying to start drama again? Or was it a reminder that Melissa wasn't the only one capable of deception? I smiled faintly, realizing that I had grown stronger. Rumors and lies could no longer control me. I had faced them, exposed them, and survived. Whatever came next, I knew I could handle it. In the end, I didn't just expose a classmate spreading rumors. I learned to stand up for myself, to navigate deception, and to trust carefully. The experience left scars, yes, but it also left lessons I would carry forever. And sometimes, when I pass by Melissa or hear whispers in the hallway, I remind myself, truth always finds its way, and the ones who try to manipulate it will eventually face consequences. I had reclaimed my voice, my reputation, and my confidence, and no rumor could ever take that away.